G'day everyone, I'm David Reedy. Welcome to Piano Finally, a podcast by an old bloke who's getting around to learning the piano. Finally. Welcome to show 41. Thank you very much for having a listen. If this is your first time hearing the podcast, I hope you enjoy the episode. If you've been here before, then thanks for coming back. Let me know if you're learning the piano or another musical instrument and how you're going with it. You can contact me at david@pianofinally.show. I'm not sure if this is actually a recommendation, but I found something interesting on YouTube the other day, and I thought I should see what you think of it. I don't have much time for conspiracy theories, and I thought that classical music would be relatively free from them. Up until this week, that had been the case. But then a video popped up in my YouTube recommendations. It looked harmless enough, a video about metronome use. As I'm trying to get better at using the metronome, I gave it a watch. The piece of music used in the video is Chopin's Etude, Opus 10, number 12, the Revolutionary Etude. It's a popular piece, and I recognised it. Interestingly, the video had opened with quite an extended discussion about time, but as a metronome is a timing aid, I thought nothing of it. It was after the initial performance that the theory came out. Apparently, everyone is playing everything too fast. The idea, which is called whole beat theory, is that the tempo markings on classical music is for a tick-tock on a metronome, not just a tick. If you use each tick as a beat, you're playing twice as fast as intended. I thought that this was an interesting idea. I wasn't convinced, and then the professor started on how this idea was being suppressed by the classical music industry, and that only a few people knew the real truth, a classic conspiracy theory trope. I have found in the past that most conspiracy theories fall apart with just a little bit of examination, especially when they're not able to present any solid evidence for their ideas. So I thought I'd have a go at knocking this one over, based on the claims made in the video. The presenter of the video is a competent pianist, and he performs a Chopin Etude in around 4 minutes, which is a fair bit slower than the way I've heard it before. The claim is that because everyone is reading the metronome markings as beats per minute and not as half beats per minute, the speed that music is being played is much too fast, and no one can perform at these incorrect speeds. Let's see. The Chopin Etude, Opus 10, number 12, is marked as Allegro con fuoco, and a crotchet equals 160. There are 84 bars in the piece in 4/4 time, so the piece is the equivalent of 336 crotchets in length. If played at a strict tempo with no variation for expressions, the piece would take 2 minutes and 6 seconds. Whole beat theory would say that Chopin meant it to be 4 minutes and 12 seconds long, and that 2 minutes and 6 would be unplayable by a human. A quick search using Apple Classical Music, where there are hundreds of recordings of this piece, reveals that pretty much everyone is closer to the 2 minutes 6 time than the 4 minutes 12 time. Vladimir Ashkenazy plays it in 2 minutes 48, Claudio Arrau in 2 minutes 31, and Yunchan Lim in 2 minutes 32. Given that they slow the tempo in places for expression, it seems that Chopin's tempo marking is quite achievable when interpreted in the conventional way. Unless the proponents of whole beat theory want to claim that composers use different meanings when composing for voice, interpreting tempo markings for operatic works would lead to some rather silly results. Mozart's La Nozze da Figaro runs for about 3.5 hours with an intermission. Do we believe that it should actually run for nearly 7 hours? I'm sure that someone would have mentioned back in 1786 that they went to the opera in the early evening and got back home in the early morning. There are other claims made in the video in an attempt to legitimize the theory, but they too fall apart when examined closely. For example, scientists did not know the shape of sound waves in the way the video explains until the mid-19th century. hundreds of years after much of the music cited was written. I think we can consign the whole beat theory to the bin of not very well thought out conspiracy theories. Like most conspiracy theories, I'm at a loss as to why this needs to exist. The only thing I can think of is that it was developed as a way of justifying not practicing enough to bring a piece up to performance speed. I agree that getting to the correct tempo for complex works, especially works as complex as some of Chopin's, is difficult. But may I suggest that it is probably more worthwhile to practice until you get there rather than try to rewrite the history of Western music. I'm not going to link to the video in the show notes, as it would only serve to increase its reach, small though my audience is. You can find the material online yourself if you search for whole beat conspiracy. Pianos and keyboards. I'm blaming this on the YouTube algorithm. YouTube suggests a lot of musical performance content to me, which is mostly fine. It is pretty good at finding material I'm interested in. This can lead to a bit of a bubble effect, or I don't see things outside the genres I am familiar with, but that's a topic for another day. In this case, I'm assuming that YouTube gets information from Google about searches and knows that I was looking for some audio gear for the podcast, new headphones in particular. So it started suggesting other audio hardware. This is how I became aware of what was happening in the realm of keyboards. I never really thought about keyboards and their place in modern music. The more popular the music I listen to, the more I listen to it for pleasure. I do not sit and analyse what I hear. The majority of my popular music listening takes place while I'm swimming laps each morning before work, and I'm not in a position to stop and take notes. This means I never really thought about where a lot of the music was coming from. Yes, there are vocals, guitars, drums, and pianos, but I never considered the number of sounds that are coming from electronic keyboards. That is until YouTube started suggesting keyboard reviews. I started watching. After all, the main interface to an electronic keyboard is the same as the interface to a piano. It's just that where a piano has 3 extra controls in the form of the pedals, a keyboard has 100 or so knobs, buttons, and sliders, and potentially even more pedals. And to a computer nerd, more controls automatically means more fun. Clearly, the skills I'm learning at the piano are the most fundamental part of playing an electronic keyboard as well. Unless you are just going to program everything into a MIDI sequencer, being able to play the piano properly is key. Being able to tweak the myriad of controls above the keyboard to change the sound is fun, but secondary in importance. It has got me intrigued though. One of the videos I watched showed how to set a Nord Stage 3 keyboard up to sound like the piano Elton John uses on stage. It had never occurred to me that his signature sound was the result of combining an acoustic piano with a synthesizer, even when playing live. Then there was another video where someone sells a set of patches that match the keyboard sounds of a lot of iconic pop songs from the past. It looks like a lot of fun. I'm going to look into this further. Maybe an electronic stage piano will be something I purchase in the future. If you have any experience with stage pianos, let me know at the show's email address. My search for the next level pieces to learn is continuing. I was in a very large educational music store during the week and found the AMEB's Rock School course. As you might expect, the Rock School syllabus is filled with much more contemporary music than the traditional classical syllabus, but it is still graded in the same way as the traditional exams and has the same level of standing in the music community. The syllabus and exams are administered by RSL, an international body based in London that maintains a grading and award system in many of the creative arts. There is a smaller range of instruments for examination in Rock School, but it includes electric and acoustic guitar and bass, ukulele, drums and voice, and both piano and keyboard. There are also theory and music production streams. If you're doing the exams for Rock School, you can choose to do them in person or by video. I'm not interested in doing the exams for Rock School, but they do offer a graded range of pieces for practice. So I thought it would be an idea to have a look at what is available at Grade 1 to see if there is anything I'd like to add to my practice repertoire. The Grade 1 book is from RSL, the awarding organisation. The book contains 6 pieces from artists Ariana Grande, Leonard Cohen, Taylor Swift, The Beatles, Sam Smith, and Sir Elton John. Each of the pieces covers around 2 pages or 30 bars, and the tempi range from around 60 to 140 beats per minute. The pieces are in C major, G major, or F major. Generally, the pieces consist of crotchets and quavers, with a few semiquavers, but no long and complicated runs of notes. I found it fairly easy to sight read the hands separately, so I think that the music level seems about right for where I am after a year of learning to play. There are examples of the music on YouTube, so it's not hard to find recordings if you want to hear the music before deciding. The Summit School of Music has videos that include the sheet music along with the performance. I'll put a link to their Grade 1 playlist in the show notes. Each of the pieces in the book is accompanied by a quite extensive essay on the work's place in contemporary music and includes its success on the pop charts. For some of the numbers, there are also notes about the structure of the piece and tips on playing it. The book wraps up with the usual technical exercises that are required in the music exams. If you're looking for some graded pieces that are a bit more contemporary than the traditional piano exam repertoire, I'd suggest having a look at the Rock School piano grade books. I found mine at a local music store, but I'll put the AMEB online store's link in the show notes. If you'd like to contact me, email is the best way. david@pianofinally.show is my email address, and the show's website is at www.pianofinally.show. In both cases, Piano Finally is all one word. Next Saturday, I'm going to see Daniel Trifonov play Rachmaninoff's 4th Piano Concerto at the Opera House, along with the Sydney Symphony Orchestra. The 4th is Mr. Trifonov's favourite piece of Rachmaninoff, according to a YouTube interview, so it should be a good evening. If all goes according to plan, next week's episode will be a special one. It will be the first show with a guest. We've been trying to schedule a meet-up to record for the past few weeks, and it looks like everything will line up this week. I'm looking forward to sitting down for a good talk. I won't give away who the first guest will be, but it is someone I've mentioned on the show before. I think you'll enjoy our chat too. And so, until the next episode, I hope your piano stays in tune and you enjoy your time at the keys. With my new practice routine, I've been working in more detail on specific parts of pieces rather than on the whole piece. This week's practice was a little less effective than usual. I took my music bag to work on Tuesday, as I was staying back for an evening function, and used the school's Hyundai grand piano for practice. But I then managed to leave my bag at work every day, so I didn't have my practice notes at home, although I did have copies of all the music. I'll include 2 pieces of music I've been working on this week: Andrew Cragg's Blackout Blues, with all the mistakes, and the start of an arrangement of some of Mozart's Die Zauberflöte. The Mozart piece sounds good if I don't try and play hands together, so I'll only include the hands separately, with a melody in the right hand and an Alberti bass in the left. All the pieces were played using the Kawai NV10 as the keyboard, and Pianotech 8 running on the M4 Pro Mac Mini, emulating the Shigeru Kawai in classic recording mode.